Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are looking at something that honestly has one of the most intense cinematic names I have ever seen in a government document.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like something pulled straight out of a Marvel movie or a Greek mythology textbook. We are talking about HADES.
It really is a dramatic acronym, isn't it, HADES? It just conjures up images of the underworld, fire, brimstone.
A three-headed dog.
Maybe a three-headed dog guarding the gates, exactly.
Right. You hear HADES and you think, okay, this is some kind of doomsday weapon. But then you open the documents, specifically the draft solicitation from the Space Force, and you realize, no, it's actually about infrastructure.
But incredibly expensive, complex infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The name actually stands for Hybrid Architecture and Development for Experimental Systems. And while it's not a doomsday device, it is a massive $300 million effort to completely overhaul how the Space Force handles its ground systems for R&D.
$300 million.
Yeah.
That is the ceiling we're looking at here.
That's the ceiling. It's an indefinite delivery, indefinite quantity contract, an IDIQ.
So a hunting license, basically.
It's a hunting license. The government guarantees they'll spend at least $3 million, but the potential goes all the way up to $300 million.
And the location for all this mythological drama.
Kirtland Air Force Base in New Mexico. That's the heart of the action here, specifically supporting the innovation and prototyping Delta.
Okay, so we have the setting New Mexico. We have the stakes, $300 million. We have the cool name.
Mm-hmm.
But let's unpack the actual what of this. When I see hybrid architecture, my brain immediately goes to, hybrid cars.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit of gas, a little bit of battery. Is that what we're talking about here?
It's actually a really good analogy. But instead of gas and battery, think heavy metal and cloud.
Okay.
The hybrid in HADES, it refers to that friction point between the physical world and the virtual world.
So blending old school hardware with modern software.
Exactly. You have the Ground System Enterprise, or GSE. This includes things like big antennas, dishes, physical servers. They call them common user elements. That's the hardware.
Right.
But the Space Force wants to move the actual control systems, the brains of the operation, into a fully virtualized environment. The source documents describe it as 2 instances of physical infrastructure hosting fully virtualized instances of ground system software.
Wow. That sounds incredibly complicated to manage. You're trying to run cutting-edge, cloud-native software on top of what I assume is some legacy hardware.
That is the core technical challenge. And they aren't just doing this to keep the lights on. They explicitly want this system to be a test bed.
Mm-hmm.
The whole mission is to support the Research and Development Space and Missile Operations Program -RDSMO. They want a partner who can operate the system today, but also use it to test the concepts of tomorrow.
So they want a playground and a fortress at the same time.
Precisely. They want to drive down operations costs, obviously, but they also want to be the viable choice for all new ground command and control programs. They want HADES to be the standard.
Okay, so that's the big picture.
Yeah.
But I want to get into the specific work, because when you look at the draft solicitation, they don't just say, go build it. They break it down into these task orders.
Right.
And these task orders give us a real glimpse into the day-to-day life of whoever wins this.
Right. With an IDIQ contract, you win the right to compete for work, but the task orders are where the actual work happens. And they've defined the first 3 right out of the gate. Task order 1 is pretty standard. Ground control.
The meat and potatoes.
It is. Mission support, travel, paying for other direct costs. It's just the baseline administrative and operational layer.
Okay.
Then you have task order 2, which I gotta say has the second coolest name in the document after HADES.
Jaguar.
Jaguar. It just sounds fast, doesn't it?
It really does. We need you to support Jaguar.
It stands for a specific mission support function. We don't have all the classified details from these sources, but it's clearly a distinct, high-priority mission. And then task order 3 is ground support.
So far, so standard.
Yeah.
You've got your admin, your special mission, your support. But then we get to the part of the document that made me stop and actually reread it. It's in section L, the instructions to offerers.
Oh, this part.
The emerging requirements scenario.
This is so fascinating. This is where the government stops being polite and starts playing war games with the contractors.
It really feels like a simulation.
Yeah.
I mean, usually a proposal is just, tell us how you'll do the work we listed. But here, they are asking you to role-play a crisis.
Exactly. They ask the offerers to simulate a scenario where 12 months into the contract, so you're a year in, you're comfortable, you've got your rhythm,
Right.
and suddenly a completely new development activity just pops up. a phantom fourth task order.
Surprise mission.
A surprise mission. They call it an emerging requirement. And they don't just want you to say, sure, we'll hire more people. They want a detailed narrative. They want to know exactly how you pivot your staffing. How do you pull engineers off Jaguar without breaking Jaguar?
And where do you find new people with top secret clearances in this labor market?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It's a stress test.
Whoa.
They are basically asking, what happens when we change our minds?
It's a test of agility. And just think about what that implies. It implies that the Space Force expects the mission to change. They know the threat landscape in 2027 or 2028 is going to look different than it does today.
So they don't want a contractor who is rigid.
No, they want a partner who can turn the ship on a dime. And they are judging you heavily on this. It's not a throwaway question.
Not at all.
No, it's central to the evaluation. If you can't show that you have the processes to handle that pop-up requirement, you aren't winning this contract, period.
Speaking of winning, let's talk about the proposal itself. Because if I'm a company trying to grab this, $300 million ring, I have to jump through some very specific hoops.
Yeah.
And the first one is the page limit.
The 45-page limit on the technical volume.
That seems incredibly short. I mean, we're talking about a massive hybrid cloud architecture, 3 distinct task orders, a transition plan, and this emerging requirement simulation. And you have to fit it all into 45 pages.
It is brutally short. And that's by design. The government is tired of reading these 200-page novels full of marketing fluff. They want brevity. They want precision.
It forces you to be disciplined.
Incredibly disciplined. You have to Blinkist your own solution, just get to the point.
And it's not just the text. I noticed a very specific and kind of nerdy requirement for how you present your data.
Oh, I love this part.
They don't just say, show us a staffing plan. They demand stacked area charts.
I love this detail. It's in Section L. They specifically require stacked area charts produced in Excel.
Why that specific chart? I mean, why not a bar chart? Why not a table?
Well, think about what a stacked area chart visualizes. It shows layers of volume over time. The x-axis is time months 1 through 12. The y-axis is total labor hours. And the stacks are the different task orders.
So you can see the geology of your workforce.
That's a perfect way to put it. They want to see the layers. At the bottom, you have the steady hum of task order 1, ground control. Then layered on top is Jaguar. And then, and this is the key, they want to see that emerging requirement wedge itself in at month 12.
They want to see the bulge in the chart.
They want to see the surge. If your chart is just a flat line, or if the new layer appears without affecting the total height of the chart, they know you're faking it. They want to visually see the ebb and flow of the workforce. It's a lie detector test in Excel format.
That is wild. It really forces you to prove you understand the workload dynamics, and you have to do all this while also explaining how you're going to take over from the incumbent contractor.
The transition plan. Yeah, that's another huge hurdle. You aren't building this from scratch. Someone is running these systems right now.
Right.
You have to explain how you're going to walk in, take the keys, transfer the passwords, and probably hire a lot of the incumbent staff, all without dropping a single packet of data.
And the transition period is from fixed price, right?
It is, which means the risk is entirely on you. If the transition takes longer than you thought or costs more, that comes out of your profit. The government writes one check for the transition, and that is it.
And we can't ignore the security aspect here. I mean, we are talking about work ranging from unclassified all the way up to top secret SCI.
That is the biggest bottleneck in the defense industry right now, clearances. You can have the most brilliant cloud architect in the world, but if they don't have a TSSCI clearance, they can't touch the HADES network.
Right.
Your proposal needs a viable plan for recruiting and retaining these people. And retaining is the key word. Once you have a cleared engineer, everyone else wants to poach them.
So you've got your stacked area charts, your 45 pages of brilliant prose, your transition plan, and your security strategy. How do they actually grade you? I was looking at Section M, the evaluation criteria, and it seems like they are. They're flipping the usual script on cost.
They are. This is a best value source selection. And the hierarchy of importance is very telling. Factor 1 is technical. Factor 2 is cost price. And the solicitation explicitly states that the technical factor is significantly more important than cost.
So you can't just be the Walmart of space contracts.
Yeah.
You can't just come in with the lowest price and expect to win.
In fact, coming in with the lowest price might actually hurt you. It might signal that you don't understand the complexity of the work. The government is signaling they're willing to pay a premium, extra taxpayer dollars for a superior technical approach.
Let's talk about how they grade that technical approach. They use a color-coded system, right?
They do. It's the standard Department of Defense palette, but it's worth breaking it down. You have blue, which is outstanding. That means an exceptional approach, multiple strengths, no weaknesses.
The dream.
The dream. Then purple is good, thorough approach, at least one strength. Green is acceptable, yellow is marginal, and red is unacceptable.
And red is basically game over.
It's immediate disqualification. If you get a red in any subfactor, you are unawardable. You don't pass, go, you don't collect $300 million.
But there's a nuance here that I think is really important for people to understand. You can have a blue idea, a brilliant idea, and still lose because of risk.
This is the paradox of government contracting. Technical capability and technical risk are graded separately.
Walk me through that. How can I be outstanding and high risk at the same time?
Okay, so imagine you propose a solution for the virtualization that uses some brand new, cutting-edge AI coding assistant. It promises to do the work in half the time. It's revolutionary.
Capability-wise, that sounds blue. It's amazing.
Exactly. The evaluators look at it and say, wow, this is an outstanding approach, so you get a blue for capability.
Where?
But then they look closer. Maybe that software hasn't been security vetted yet. Maybe it relies on a vendor that just started up last week. So they say, we love the idea, but we think there's a high chance it will cause a schedule delay or a security breach. So they slap you with a high-risk rating.
And high risk is bad.
It's toxic. You want the golden ticket. Blue capability, low risk. That means we love your idea and we are totally confident you can pull it off without drama.
It seems like that low risk factor is heavily tied to program management. I noticed something interesting in the weighting within the technical factor. Program management is actually weighted higher than systems engineering.
That caught my eye, too.
Mm-hmm.
Subfactor 2, program management, is more important than subfactor 1, systems engineering.
That seems backwards for a technical contract. Why would you value the managers over the engineers?
I think it goes back to that emerging requirements scenario. The Space Force is confident that there are plenty of smart engineers out there who can write code. They are not confident that there are partners who can manage the chaos of a shifting mission.
Right.
They are worried about the coordination, the staffing surges, the agility. They are valuing the conductor more than the violinists.
That is a massive insight. If you spend 40 of your 45 pages talking about how great your code is and only 5 pages on how you hire and manage people, you're answering the wrong question.
You're missing the point of HADES. HADES isn't just about building a system. It's about managing an evolving enterprise.
Okay, let's shift gears to the financials. We know the ceiling is $300 million, but how does the contractor actually make a profit? It's not a simple fee-for-service model.
No, it's largely a cost-plus award fee contract, or CTF. This is a very specific structure. In a normal cost-plus contract, you get reimbursed for your costs, and you get a fixed fee, say 6% profit on top.
But not here.
Not here. In CPF, there is no base fee allowed, 0 guaranteed profit.
So you could do the work, get your costs covered, and make $0 in profit.
Theoretically, yes. Your entire profit margin comes from the award fee pool. At the end of every evaluation period, the government grades your performance. If you did great, you get a big slice of the pool. If you were mediocre, you get crumbs.
And if you failed?
You get nothing. It puts a tremendous amount of pressure on performance. It aligns the contractor's bank account directly with the government's happiness.
It prevents the lazy incumbent syndrome.
You have to sing for your supper every single period.
Now, there are a few other gotchas in the source material, these little logistical hurdles that can trip you up. One of them is the small business requirement.
The 25% rule. This is a hard metric.
That seems like a big chunk. The contract mandates a 25% small business participation requirement.
And it's calculated in a specific way. It's based on the total small business expenditures divided by total labor costs on the labor CLINs.
CLINs being contract line item numbers.
Right. So they are looking at the labor bill. They want to ensure that a quarter of that labor value is going to small businesses. And this is crucial. The government explicitly warns against pass-throughs.
What's a pass-through?
That's where you hire a small business just to put their name on the paper, but they don't do any real work. You know, maybe they just print the manuals or do the janitorial services.
Got it.
HADES says no. They want the work to have complexity and variety. They want small businesses doing the actual engineering.
Which connects back to the innovation goal. Small businesses are often where the risky, cool ideas come from.
Exactly. If HADES is a test bed, you want those hungry startups in the mix. But if you're a big prime contractor, finding small partners who have cleared staff and can handle the technical work, that is a logistical nightmare.
And if you miss that 25% target?
It's a pass-fail gate. Section M says the criterion is met or not met. If you are not met, you are ineligible for the award.
Brutal. Okay, here's another logistical hurdle that made me laugh just because of how specific it is. The New Mexico twist.
Ugh, the tax clause. This is a classic trap for contractors who aren't from the Southwest.
Usually military bases are federal land, so state sales tax doesn't apply to services.
Usually. But New Mexico is special. They have a gross receipts tax that applies to services, not just goods. And because of the specific jurisdiction of Kirtland AFB, the solicitation includes a clause requiring the contractor to register with the New Mexico Taxation and Revenue Department.
I can just imagine a proposal manager in Washington, D.C. glossing over that, submitting a price without the tax, and then realizing their profit margin just evaporated.
Or worse, they bill the government incorrectly and trigger an audit. It's a hyper-specific detail, but Section I makes a point to include it. It's another test. Do you actually understand the operating environment?
And speaking of liability and money, there's one more clause that caught my eye. The high-value end item clause.
FAR 52.24624 alternate I.
You know we're deep in the weeds when we're citing FAR clauses, but this one defines a high-value end item as anything worth more than $10,000.
Which, in the world of space systems, is basically a toaster.
Right. A single server blade, a specialized switch, a high-end laptop. Almost everything they touch is going to be over 10 grand.
Exactly. And the clause dictates who pays if that equipment gets broken. Since the contractor is managing common user equipment and government-furnished property, they are going to be handling millions of dollars of hardware. If they drop a server rack or if a virtual update bricks a physical antenna controller, the government wants to know who is writing the check.
So bringing this all together, we have a $300 million contract. We have a requirement to blend the cloud with heavy metal. We have to simulate a surprise mission, draw it in Excel with layers, manage a transition, pay New Mexico taxes, and make sure we don't break the expensive toasters.
That sums it up pretty well. HADES is looking for a partner, not just a vendor. They want someone who can handle the technical complexity of virtualization, but also the management complexity of a shifting mission.
It really feels like they are trying to future-proof this enterprise.
They are. The documents repeatedly mention sustainment alongside development. They don't just want to build a new system, they want a system that can evolve. The emphasis on the hybrid concept is key here. They know the future isn't just big iron servers in a basement. It's distributed, it's virtual, it's flexible.
And I think that brings us to the big so what of this entire deep dive. Why does the Space Force care so much about this? Why structure the contract this way?
I think the answer lies in that emerging requirements scenario we talked about.
How so?
Look at the weighting again. Technical is more important than cost. Program management is more important than systems engineering. And the core test of program management is, how do you handle a surprise mission?
They're buying an insurance policy for the unknown.
Exactly. They know the technology will change. They know the threats will change. They don't know how yet. So they aren't looking for a vendor who can build the system they want today. They are looking for a partner who can build the system they haven't even thought of yet.
That is a powerful thought. If the technical factor is so much more important than cost, they are essentially saying that agility is the single most valuable currency in modern space operations.
It is. In modern space ops, the hardware is almost secondary. The winner is the side that can update their software and reconfigure their ground systems faster than the other guy. HADES is the infrastructure that allows that adaptation to happen.
It's a philosophy of operations disguised as an IDIQ contract.
That is the perfect way to put it.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah.
From the underworld of Greek mythology to the high-stakes, high-tech future of Space Force ground systems, HADES is definitely a program to watch.
Absolutely. And remember, if you're writing a proposal, don't forget the stacked area charts.
And pay your New Mexico taxes.
Always.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.